The Barclays Africa Group owns Absa and Barclays Bank elsewhere in Africa.
Exactly, because for a while there it looked as though Absa would disappear and Barclays Africa would be the thing. But of course, Barclays Plc has been taken over by an investment banker called Jess Daly, and he said, you know what, Barclays Africa can go away.
Well, they're having trouble getting rid of it, to be honest.
They're down to 50% stake
Market
now,
cap, 125 billion rand, PE of 850 and a dividend yield here of 6.8%.
Wow.
Really a bit of a mishmash given the toing and froing that we've seen, and they are battling to exit.
Right, so I mean, Jess Daly, coming from a hedge fund background, obviously adopting the sell everything EM approach towards the beginning of the year. I think that has created a significant overhang for the bank. In terms of operations, they've done incredibly well. I think that what we saw was what really weighed on earnings was increased impairments in their CIB, in their investment bank, and that was really on the back of, I think what they said was Edcon, writing down loans and advances to Edcon, and some other things. Now, they might have over-impaired there, and that might create a base effect where we see a reversal of impairments coming through at a later stage. I do think that from a retail banking perspective, they have been behind the curve. We spoke about FirstRand being very sort of innovative on the technology front. I think they were really sort of old school in their approach and how they adopted their technological.
But they did.
I want to ask a question, just going back to the strategy to exit EMs. Isn't that a bit of a dramatic decision given cyclicality and the fact that EMs are likely to come back into favor, and the purchase of something like an Absa, which it was initially, is a long-term strategy. To reverse that decision is very dramatic. Absolutely.
I think that Jess Daly probably had a hurdle rate, an internal hurdle in pounds. And when you look at what happened in the currency, it was probably that it wasn't meeting that hurdle, and that was basically adopting the fire sale approach.
I know people who know Jess Daly, and they say he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He is like a hard-charging US investment banker type. He knows he's got 3 years on the job. He has to do something because Anthony Jenkins didn't do anything. Barclays PLC has had a litany of shocking decisions. They sold out of iShares just before index tracking became the world's first. They took strategic missteps left, right and centre. To be fair to them, though, they had this problem where they only owned 65. I'm glad
you say you are going to be fair to them, because I was wondering whether the balance
they only
of the
owned
equation would come to
65% of Barclays Africa, and they had to provide in terms of EU rules for 100% of the capital. But it was a poorly timed decision, and now I don't really know. No one's got enough money. The environment isn't all that clear. I don't know what they're going to do next. They could unbundle it. They could bring in other strategic
But also the damage that
holders.
they've done to the growth strategy for Barclays Africa. I don't know if that is worth the decision that he's made. I mean, will Barclays Africa recover from this?
I think so. And I think they still have access to capital markets. The EM story can still continue. They were kind of behind Standard Bank in charging into Africa. But they adopted a wait-and-see approach. I think what's important to note about Barclays operations is they were the real losers when Capitec came to the market, and Capitec managed to gain a lot of market share from Barclays if one looked at the BA 900 data. So, and I think they've started to plug that hole now. So I think that there is a base effect, and I think that from here onwards we might actually see them performing quite well.
Can you just look at the share price graph again before we call it?
Yeah, it looks a bit rough. No? That's sort of not a very impressive looking chart. I'm going to go with not hot on account of the overhang, although I agree with Bjorn that operationally they're doing fine, and they revamped their online banking and apps on the phone, which look fantastic.
But I also want to bring another element into the discussion, and that is the rebranding that is going to have to take place after they've spent so much time and effort and money branding to get to the Barclays Africa Group. Can you imagine what is going to unfold on that front?
Yeah, it's another costly affair.
Back to Absa.
Hot or not?
I'm going to go with hot. I think that there is a base effect here. I think that you might see them outperform and surprise the upside in a year's time.